Welcome to Principling in Place Season 2, New NAESP Centers and Fellows. Joining us tonight is Dr. Gracie Branch, NAESP's Associate Executive Director of Professional Learning, and Dr. Andy Jacks, Senior NAESP Fellow.
Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I'm coming in tonight from Woodville, Georgia. So would not have missed the Center for Middle Level Leadership presentation tonight. So very excited to be here, and I want to turn it over to Dr. Andy Jacks.
Thank you, Gracie. Welcome, everybody. It's Thursday night. That means we have one more day for the week. Just one more day. You can make it. Although a principal's job is never done. 7 days a week. I think, in fact, a principal works 8 or 9 days a week, if that can actually happen. I think they do. You guys are what it's all about. Let me know who's out there, where you guys are at. I know some people are still going to be popping on as we come on. It's, 8 o'clock. We got the debate later on tonight. People are going to be all into, but this is a safe place. It's going to be a great time tonight. So make sure to chime in to the chat box. As you come in, I'll be sort of stalling a little bit and making sure that you know what we're all about as we start for tonight. So just like Gracie's coming all the way from Georgia, we got people all over the country, past the country, all over the world joining us for our Principling in Place, because no matter where you are, you're a school leader, you're making things happen. So thank you, principals out there, National Principals Month. If you haven't thanked a colleague, make sure you thank a colleague. You may be the only one to thank a colleague. Make sure to thank them. So welcome on for another great episode, and we're going to keep rolling because we got an awesome time here with Jessica and Kevin. So big challenge last week was for people to snap a picture or share how they celebrate the diversity within their school community. And diversity means a lot of different things. And so the challenge winners coming into this week, we have one specific winner, and I'm gonna share why. And this was shared over to me by Ryan and Edgardo, because they caught this online. So let's hit it to the next one. And congratulations, Matthew Johnson, principal in South Carolina. You are this week's winner for Principling in Place Challenge. And so we have some NAESP swag coming your way right after this episode. I want to notice that, we talk about diversity. Diversity means a lot of different things. And this one hit me pretty solid here, Matt. I appreciate this. You're talking about diversity of all sorts of different things. In this case, you're celebrating diversity of disabilities and all the different types of issues that your school community is dealing with. And not only are you celebrating that, you are making efforts to recognize, support, and advocate for the different diversity in your school. So Matthew Johnson, we salute you. Thank you so much. Great job. Remember, the purpose for this series is to connect, share, and learn. So we need you to connect with those other people in the chat box, on Twitter. Make sure you socialize, know who they are, connect with them afterwards. Share that ultimately we're here to learn. In tonight's episode, we have a lot of great takeaways. So I'm going to roll through this quickly because, I think middle-level leaders, you think, okay, what does that really mean? But it means a lot of different things. In fact, a little bit of sneak peek is I think it means that you have to be good at like elementary stuff, high school stuff, and all blends together, I think, all in one. So it's pretty impressive. As you can see, we have multiple centers for advancing leadership at NASP. We have Center for Diversity Leadership, Innovative Leadership, Middle Level Leadership, and Women in Leadership. And so we have amazing school leaders that are out there trying to advocate and bring you the hottest, the latest, the most current issues that we're facing in schools. And today is no exception. And we have Dr. Kevin Armstrong and Jessica Cabine here tonight. So we'll start with a little bit of fun facts as we introduce these two amazing school leaders. Both very good friends of mine. So I always love hanging out with my friends. And they mean a lot to me personally, just because I know they always have my back, and they know I have their back as well. And that's what it's all about. And that's one thing to think about. If you're a colleague or you're like a peer to somebody out there, go farther than that. Be a real friend, have a good relationship, talk to them, call them. If they need something, be there to support them, because that's what really principals need. It's not just that you're like friends on Twitter. Do more than that. So tonight we got Kevin Armstrong, big time, big hot shot. He's a dad. He has 2 kids. 2 girls. One is a freshman at Howard University. Well, pretty nice there. Pretty impressive. One's a 5th grader. I'm a 5th grader too. So you're dealing with the whole you know, like we're probably okay with a lot of this virtual kind of stuff going on, but we're not quite like independent, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're
And
exactly
then,
right. I have two freshmen.
what's that?
I have two freshmen. I have a freshman in college and a freshman in middle school. So
Yeah, there you go. Oh, so you guys start middle school in 5th grade.
yes.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, we go into like 6th grade. So also, you may not know this, but Kevin is the best fantasy football player you will ever find. He is a superstar fantasy football player, right?
I love fantasy football. Anytime I can combine sports and math, hey, I'm with it. So yeah, I love fantasy football.
So talk to me about fantasy football and math and how that all relates. That it's technically it's like a learning thing for you, right? It's like practicing your math skills and everything.
It is, and I do more research than I probably should. But it's just, you know, looking at, you know, who the team is playing and the conditions and calculating, you know, how many points you think that they're going to average and things like that. So it's a lot dealing with analytics and, you know, just the love of the game and, you know, with math is involved. So I actually had a fantasy football league my last year in the classroom with one of my class periods. It was a free league, but we used fantasy football stats to find mean, median, mode, and range. So it was pretty cool. There
you go. See, that's what it's all about. So you're a stat guy. Like you're really paying attention to the details. You're not like a gut feeling when it comes to fantasy football picks, because there's two different types of fantasy football picks, right? Like you can.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think for the most part, I go with the data. But
right.
you know, I'm a data-driven fantasy football player instead of a data-driven principal.
Well, I want you to know that I also like fantasy football. So we're going to have to compare some notes because I got my own championship trophy right here.
Look at that, buddy. Look at the love right
there. Your trophy's definitely bigger than mine. Okay. All right. So thank you for coming on. So Jess, what do I say about Jess? There's so many things we could say that we won't say, but so she's a big shot author of at least like 17 books, right? So Balanced Like a Pirate, awesome book, right? We have Hacking Early Learning, Lead with Grace, Unconventional Leadership. She's gonna write my biography of my life someday. I'm gonna hire her for that. She's an amazing person overall. And so Jess, welcome on. We go way back. You know, Jess and I had ice cream cones together one time.
Yes.
Yes. That was
banana and chocolate.
There you go. See? You can tell a lot by there we go. First chat question. What is your favorite ice cream flavor? In the chat box, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? What are your guys' favorite ice cream flavor?
Right now, this month,
Sydney's
Cheesecake Factory key lime pie.
Key lime pie, there you go. I got Cindy in here is Rocky Road. Kim is double fudge brownie. Mary is chocolate. Nicole's Cherry Garcia. Ooh, Cherry Garcia is good.
Rum raisin.
Cherry Jubilee. Fred is mint chocolate chip. What do you think, Kev?
I gotta go with good old butter pecan. So
yeah, nice.
I gotta go with that one.
Yeah, I go. I like maybe like a raspberry. Maybe coffee is good too. So we digress. So let's keep moving.
All right. Well, Andy, thanks for letting Kevin and I be here. And we're really honestly honored that NAESP has asked us to help support and increase the awareness of middle-level leaders in NAESP and just help us find a home. Middle-level leaders are sometimes like middle schoolers just in general. We're kind of quirky. Kevin's got great analogies about being the middle child. But I think it's also one of the most important developmental times in our children's lives. And so it's really exciting that NAESP has really decided to have that be one of the pinnacle works. And I'm excited for what's going to come. And we'll share a little bit throughout the hour for people that might be interested in kind of following the journey and maybe helping support the growth of this. But it's really the leadership focusing on providing exceptional skills and support that middle-level administrators need to run an outstanding school with high levels of student achievement. So the goal of the center is to connect middle-level principals with pertinent information and resources that promote their work with young adolescents as they help them to develop into strong, productive, moral citizens. So Kevin and I, we have like 3 kind of topics to talk about tonight. And really what we're trying to do is crowdsource. So we might share some examples around these topics, but we really want to hear from you. And I think in this season, we could all use less of just reinvent the wheel. Like, what are you doing that I could do, or what are you sharing? What could I learn from, and start to really get connected so we can grow together in this work. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. So Kevin's going to kick us off.
All right, gang. We're going to start off with an icebreaker. In my downtime, I try to unwind, and one of the games that I've picked up in the last couple of weeks is a game called Culture Tags, where you use acronyms and you have to act them out, similar to Taboo. So we're going to give a $5 Starbucks gift card for the first person to post a correct answer to this acronym in the chat. So this acronym kind of ties in with where we're moving to as far as middle school, and we're in the middle and we're all struggling. And so this is an acronym that kind of means, you know, you're talking to someone and you don't think, you know, that they're tough enough. And you're like, you know, if you're not tough enough, then you need to leave. And of course, my former assistant principal, Mr. Fred Hewitt, nails it. If you can't take Fred, if you can't take the heat, then get out of the kitchen. I'm going to go ahead and give it to him. So congratulations, Fred, for getting this. He did not know the answer. I promise you he didn't. I did not, you know, kind of tag him with that before we started, but congratulations. But again, the answer is, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. So thank you all for joining us for the icebreaker. Yeah. Fred, I'll get that to you, buddy.
And that, I mean, Kevin, that really leads us right into our first thing is meaningful, fun relationships with middle schoolers. And so, yeah, Kevin, why don't you take it off with the student engagement piece now? Topic
number one, we're dealing with student engagement, and the quotes that we have comes from John Maxwell, and he states, "Students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." And again, for our students, we know that for our middle school students and for all of our students, elementary and high school, that our schools are their second home for all of them. And sadly to state, but they're our first home for some of them. And so we want to make sure that our students feel comfortable and that our students know that we care and that we're building relationships with our kids. And part of that is getting them engaged and making sure that they're active in our school environments.
So each of us came up with examples to share, and then we'd really like to hear what you do as well in regards to student engagement.
So one of the things that we're doing here at Hadley this year is Hamish is a buddy of ours too, and I like a lot of you all saw the videos that he had when he was dressed all crazy and stuff like that, and he was doing the house system. And so his guys are the Hornets, I think. So he has a swarm. So our mascot is the Bulldogs. So we picked up on that, and we have Hadley packs at DuPont Hadley this year. And we've divided our building into 4 packs, and each pack is represented by the different name of a bulldog: Campero, Mammoth, Alapaha, and Caribou. And so we deal with those colors. And so we had a drive-through parade a couple of weeks ago where our kids came and got agendas and picked up T-shirts that were the appropriate colors and things like that. And our students are getting points for attending virtual classes, because you all know it's very tough for kids to log in the mornings virtually. And so our students are getting points every morning for logging into their classes. And you can see that in the bottom right-hand corner where we have a total from a couple of weeks ago where we stand. But it's a great opportunity. We have Aquila's, which is myself and 3 other administrators, and we actually did a draft in drafting our faculty. And once we drafted them, we had.
All right. Hold on, Kev. So you somehow pulled in the fantasy football draft system into your house.
Man, I'm telling you, it's all tied together. I'm telling you, it all connects. It all connects.
I love it.
Yes. So we did a draft, and we each have a squad. I am, of course, I'm on Team Mammoth, and then to seal it off, we have 2 student leaders who are our alphas for each pack as well, and so we're connecting with our alphas, and then our alphas are reaching out to our students. So it's a really good opportunity for our students to grow and to have young leaders, and they're going to be in this pack for the entire time, for all 4 years that they're in their pack. If we have siblings, our siblings are also in the same pack. So it's just a great opportunity for us to build camaraderie, and students, in 5th grade and 8th grade get to know one another, and we have tutoring opportunities and mentoring opportunities and things like that will be going on once we get back to campus, of course. So it's just a great opportunity for our kids to grow and to really engage our student body in a way that we haven't done before.
Hey, can I ask you a question about this? This, the house system, pack system, and all that has such an effect on staff as well as students, correct?
Yes.
So how has this helped connect your staff or engage your staff, or bring them together in that way too, not just with the students?
So one of the things that we had stipulated when we did the faculty draft is that we could only have so many teachers from certain grade levels to make sure that each house or each pack consists of folks from all over the building. So we have custodians that are in packs. We have the lunch lady is in a pack. Our secretaries and bookkeepers are all a part of packs. And so we were able to pull in the entire campus community and not just the teachers, to pull everyone in, and everyone's competitive, and everyone's, purchasing different color, shoes and hats and all these different things. And then we're connecting with kids who we probably would not have connected with before, just because, these kids are in our packs and we want them to do well. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a big deal, right? So you had every single person that you could possibly think of involved.
Correct.
That separates you, right? So that's a big tip right there. Thank you.
All right, well, I'll share just a little bit of a different one on the next slide. So I talked a little bit about principal roundtables. And so I was the assistant middle school principal, oh my gosh, before smartphones, not blonde hair, real. And I went to the kindergarten center for 6 years, and now this is my 3rd year back. And actually these 7th and 8th graders were my first classes of kindergartners. But the thing that I learned about kindergarten and middle school is kids love to talk, love to share their opinions. And when you build solid relationships with them, they're not afraid to really tell it like it is. And so we started to create some leadership groups, and not like your traditional leadership groups. So not just National Junior Honor Society and Student Council, but the kids who really have the ear of the community that sometimes don't see leadership within themselves. And so we had this rule before I got there that kids couldn't have water bottles in school. And the student council is like, that's a really old rule. I don't know why we have it anymore. And there was a student that I met even before I started the job, and his name is Ater, and he's on here. And I think we all have an Ater, the kid who just comes up to you and says, what's stupid, what's not working, what needs to be fixed. I mean, he's incredible. And so I asked Ater about this. I'm like, what do you know about this water bottle thing? He's like, well, let me tell you what I know about this. And he went out to different stakeholder groups and got feedback. And then he and Asia took it upon themselves to create a survey, and surveyed students, surveyed staff and families. And then they brought a PowerPoint presentation to the school board and had that rule changed in our handbook mid-year. And it was so empowering and exciting to see how proud they were of their work. It was also such a great branding piece for us, and shattered some perceptions about middle school leadership. And our school board had their first little selfie from Ater. And one of the things that I learned about that experience is the power of clear communication. So I left that board meeting thinking I'm gonna have to craft like this portal push to families and explain all the changes. And by the time I pulled into my house, my 8th grade son's like, hey, did you hear? Ater got water bottles back at Ellis. It was on Snapchat. It was all out. Like, I didn't need to communicate anything, because the power of that social media really helped get that going. So we just kept going with that group. And then by the end of the year, it grew to about 6 kids, and we picked different pockets of social groups, kids that were more into gaming and robotics, and kids that were into sports. And we really mirrored the population of our student body. And then that group of 8th graders went down to our intermediate school and did some onboarding with our incoming 7th graders. So we did orientations on site, we gave them tours, and then we actually went and ate lunch with them, because we're like, no 6th grader is going to raise their hand in an auditorium of 300 kids and say, I have a question. But if you put one of the star wrestling players or one of the star basketball players at a table with them, they're ready to roll. And so that was such a great piece to do. And then last year we again looked at 8th graders, and this time we really asked them for real clear feedback on what made coming to Ellis exciting? What were you worried about? How can we help support that? And then we asked them, what do you need for the high school? Like what supports do you need? What questions do you need answered? And it was just so authentic, because sometimes as adults, we think we know what kids need, and we can operate under those practices and go completely in the wrong direction. And so one of the things, and it's, you don't have to like create a stipend or a Schedule C or, put an advisor to this. You can just once a month eat lunch with a group of kids That's all it takes is taking out your own lunch supervision for once a month and to put everybody at a table. And it's been a really powerful piece for me just to kind of learn really what concerns are and then how to solve problems in our school.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that question. Like, how can someone get started? I know, Kevin, you both are very intentional in using student leadership and voice to make decisions in your schools. But that's easier said than done. How do you literally, step by step, if you don't do a lot of that or you want to do more, how would you do more of that? You talked about, right, it could be as simple as just eating lunch, so what else could you do?
I think exactly what Jessica said, just listen to the kids. I think that's, to me, that's the start, is taking the time out of your day to slow down and pull kids to the side and just listen to them. I had a student just yesterday that emailed me about an idea about having, like a daily news channel or something. And I told her I was going to talk to her, get back with her next week. And this morning I opened up my email and she sent me a Teams invite. Like who does that, as an 8th grader? But it's just, building relationships with kids, talking to kids. And then when they see that, that your walk matches your talk and you're actually implementing some of the things that came from their mind, that's when it spreads for me.
Well, and one thing, because we were talking before we went on air, what does our school situation look like with COVID? And we have distance learner and some hybrid learning. But in August, we offered listening sessions. So we did some for families, some for staff, and then some specific for students. So we had Teams meetings, and we had a set of questions, and cameras didn't have to be on, use the chat box, and it was fantastic. Like, what are you most worried about coming back to school? What supports do you need? How many classes a day do you think's manageable? Do you know how to use Schoology? And then we opened it up. And then the next time we said, hey, come back next week and we'll do a tour of school. And so the assistant principal, Ryan, he was in his office. I flipped my computer around, so it was like a tablet. And he's like, okay, this student wants to go from orchestra to science. And so I would just walk the building, because a lot of our 7th graders had never seen our campus, and they were going to come 2 days a week and never got a tour because our building shut down in March. And so it was just that real-time response, like, just bring your phone out and we're just going to walk around the building and give them virtual tours. And it really helped to kind of decrease some anxiety. And again, like Kevin said, build that buy-in, because I got more emails after that saying, hey, thanks for giving that tour. Hey, can you do that again? I have another friend. And it just builds on that social capital. So even if you just start with one kid that you just connect with and watch that ripple effect.
And both you guys have like middle school age kids.
Mm-hmm.
Does that come into play in this at all? Like, what they want to do, they want to be invested, they want to be involved. Like, I always feel like you learn so much from your own kids too.
For me, not so much. For me, I mean, I've always wanted to be in middle school. I'll never forget what it's like to be 12 years old. And so I just have that, I guess, that immature mindset, a compartment of my mind anyway is immature. So I'm always thinking like a kid and what kids want.
All right.
Yeah, I'd say too, it's been really fun, but it is like, so I'm in more of a rural area, so all the kids come to this middle school. So it has been fun watching my kids kind of go through those developmental stages. Like, you kind of have an eye on the sky in the building and can stalk them all over. So that has been kind of fun, just to be a principal and a parent at the same time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it does, when you say the Snapchat, that usually gets some eye rolls with some middle schoolers. Like, it's not called the Snapchat.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not getting me on TikTok. They always say, do a TikTok video. I'm like, I'm going to break a hip. Not doing a TikTok.
Hey, before we move on, in the chat, while we go on, how have you led any student-led initiatives of any kind? Let me hear what you're doing while that's happening. So just to reiterate that, any type of student leadership, ways you get students involved, you listen to their feedback. One time we had something as simple as a student who wanted to put urinal walls up in the boys' bathroom. So a student came to me and it was kind of embarrassed, but he's like, we don't have any dividers between the urinals in the boys' bathroom. And I was like, I never knew that, because I don't generally go into the boys' bathroom, right? And so I was like, well, what are we gonna do about it? So I actually had him and another student create a whole plan. They had to do a PowerPoint presentation, and they had to research it with facilities, and they propose it to the advisory council. And, the one thing you could do with something small is you can sort of build upon it, right? To make it sort of like bigger. They could do more things out of something, a little project, make it like more of an experience for them. So we now have them in our bathrooms.
Hey, Katie, if you could go to the next slide too. One thing like with COVID as well, when you're trying to find virtual ways to connect with kids, we have an incredible art teacher, and I don't know, like we do good news calls and things at the middle school, but I have these very formal note cards with my name on it and the emblem. But we have the art teacher with our distance learning students is actually using Canva to create new Ellis postcards. And then on the tag, they'll say created by student name 8th grader at Ellis Middle School. And it's been really fun to start to see some of those projects come through, and the pride in like, I'm creating the card that Miss Cabine sends home for the good news calls. And so like trying to tap into other areas of interest. And I think too, including student voices, just showing up, going to games, going to events, celebrating what they do. Because again, kind of what Kevin said at the very beginning, students don't care how much you know until they know you care. And a lot of that's just being present. So that's kind of fun. But I'm looking here, coaches at recess, yeah, leaders, virtual student councils, that's an awesome idea too. Because I think it's so hard, especially as a principal in the spring. I lead from my feet and our school campus was empty. So connecting with kids was more of a like you had to be creative because you had to like Teams call them, or we used Instagram more, or we were trying to connect with them in meaningful ways. But when they're not face to face, that really we had to pivot quite a bit. Town hall meetings, Fred said that's a good idea too.
All right, so we have another winner here. So Dr. Franks is hitting me up. He's giving stuff away. Dr. Franks is all about giving free swag, free books, free everything. So shout out. Yep, that's right. So shout out Dr. Franks. He's giving out Leading Learning Communities, Standards for What Principals Should Know and Be Able to Do by NAESP. So that's coming out to Mary McAllister. I see you out there. Congratulations. She gave like in one comment, she gave like 15 different ideas. Junior coaches at recess, virtual student council. And that's a good point. And Mary, thank you for bringing that in because, you know, just because you're virtual doesn't mean you can't do these things, right? You can still do these things. So Mary, we got this coming your way. Free gift for you.
Awesome. All right. So we're going to transition to our next poll question. And if I remember how to do this right, I got to read it aloud. So we know and then we'll read the answers too. But what vice could you never give up? You got chocolate candy, coffee, soda, shopping, social media, or sports. I'm curious, Kevin, where you I feel like it might be sports.
Ooh.
If it was fantasy football, would that be the deal breaker there then?
You know, it would be close. Yeah, I think, you know, we had to go months without sports, and that was tough. You know, turning on ESPN every night and hearing them talk about nothing. It was just awful. There was nothing to talk about. So yeah, for me, it's sports.
Andy, how about you?
I think it's sports, but it's probably coffee. I think I'd go in withdrawal, like caffeine withdrawal. I seriously think I would. You know, I'm not ashamed about that either. I'm okay with that. Mm-hmm. What about you?
Coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee. I made the mistake of going on a 21-day cleanse.
Why?
So I know. So no alcohol, no bread, no dairy. I'm on like day 18. I think I have like the red like alert on my door. People just walk away from me. They're like, until she starts eating a chocolate bar, we're gonna leave her alone. So I think maybe November I might come back. But it looks like Andy, they like coffee and soda.
Yep. So we got what advice could you never give up? The winner is coffee and soda. Overwhelming majority. The next one up is shopping. Shopping was a big one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like an addiction thing too, especially for middle schoolers, right? I can start seeing that. They get into that online shopping now and figure out what they want to wear and, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's a big deal.
So we just thought this poll, when Kevin and I were talking about it, we thought it was timely for our next topic, which is taking care of teachers during a pandemic, which I mean, really it's relevant whether you're pre-K through 12th grade. Our teachers are going above and beyond, and they continue to do so. So I'm actually going to be taking notes during this section too, just to see what other people are doing during this time. Because we were saying too before this, a teacher said it well. I'm May tired in October. May tired, like Mentha May tired, and it's only October. So what can we do and how can we help support our teachers in this season? So I think is it Kevin? Kevin's ideas coming up here, and it's fantastic. If you don't screenshot this and do this, I mean, like, take this tomorrow, what he's got here.
So I cannot take credit from this. I've got to give a shout out to one of my guys here in Nashville, one of my middle school principals, Romy Vassar. He actually sent me a deposit ticket a couple of weeks ago, right at the beginning of school. I'm an only child. My mom was a retired teacher for 30 plus years, and I used to talk to her every single day, and I was just feeling a loss. She passed away last year, and it was just one of those days when it was just kind of heavy on me, and I opened up my email, and I got a deposit ticket from Romy, and he was just, just pouring into me, noticing some things that I was doing in the district and some things that I was doing in my building, and it just touched me in such a way that I was like, I'm going to do this for every single person in my building. And so I took the template and just sat down one day and just typed them all out and sent them out, and just the response, because that's not something, honestly, just being transparent, that's not something that I typically do. I'm not a big writer. I'm not a note card guy typically, but I just really poured into it. But it's a great way just to say thank you, kind of a positive, I got you. I see what you're doing. And this one, I was just thanking Ms. Watson, one of our 5th and 6th grade teachers, just for helping us start off the school year and just making this virtual start that we were all going through at the time, just making it seamless. But just to be able to do something like that for your faculty and your staff is huge. And just to let them know that they're appreciated, and let them know, that you care about them. And again, just to let them know that you see what they're doing every single day. So it was huge in our faculty and well received.
And I love this idea, Kevin. I just think just how the intentionality around it is important. And one thing that I love about this too is everybody got something. Everybody was recognized, and that sometimes we just think of the people that we see all the time, or the people, I could do better at I try to have a spreadsheet in my office of all staff. And as I do a recognition, I try to keep track. So I'm intentional with it, but I try not to miss anybody too. And then one thing I've noticed, I'm curious with you too, is how did that help your attitude in doing all of this? Did it have any impact, the gratitude expression, on your own resiliency?
Definitely. I mean, I kind of equate it to giving someone a gift. It's mutual appreciation. I mean, I feel good about myself because I'm actually giving you something that creates an opportunity for you to feel better about yourself. And then, I felt like that I was viewed in a different light, because this is something that I had never done before. And so I was viewed in a different light, because I get it, and I can see how, teachers feel underappreciated because, I'm working my butt off and my principal hadn't said anything to me about it. And so this is an opportunity for us to do it. I'm going to do it again in the next week or two, because we've got kiddos coming in our building on campus starting next week. And so that would be another great time to do it. So, yeah.
And one thing it's simple, but with our distance learning days or our Wednesdays, like, you can wear jeans, come comfortable, just little things like that in this season have been helpful. And we've really encouraged our staff too, to just take a walk, get outside, get some fresh air, take the mask off, go, especially on those days where you don't have to race back to kids. Cause our middle day, we don't have any students. Cause I think otherwise you're running at a pace and you can't stop.
Right. And another idea is, I took a Google form and created a survey at the beginning of the year. I know I did it last year, and just asked them, what were their favorite things, like their favorite Sonic drink, their favorite candy bar, their favorite ice cream, and all these different things. And then one day I made a Sonic run, and you already have their order, in front of you. And so you can just, run down to Sonic and get a bunch of drinks and just walk by each classroom and just hand them their drink. And they've already told you what they like. So you don't have to ask them, and it's a surprise. That's another little kind of good gotcha treat for them on those tough days, especially, when you get into February, right before spring break, when there's a lull between Christmas and spring break. That's a great time to do things like that for them, because that's when they're wiped. So,
so just a thought there. Like, I think that's it's pretty big, the intentionality, the forward thinking of finding out what they want, what they like, because I think there's sort of a danger sometimes of just doing something randomly. They may not actually want it, right? But if it's something that they like a drink they like, they like it because you put the work into it ahead of time. That makes a big difference. Like it sounds simple, but it's, if I like Diet Coke as my favorite drink and I get that, I'm going to respond better to that than some other random drink that I don't like. It could be that simple. But that forward thinking. Hey guys, we got some great stuff in the chat box. So Deborah hired an ice cream truck for the staff.
Well, and Sue is awesome anyway, but that Stress to Bless goodie bag, that's a great book and a great and intentional work on that. That was awesome one too.
And she's the real deal. Totally. I know Sue, real deal. She's her heart of gold and everything she does. Amazing principal. So when she does these things, just like a lot of you guys, it's like real. And she's doing it to other colleagues too, not just your teachers, right? So that's a big deal. Thank you, Sue. What else we got here? We have
did, sticky notes on her desk, fill them out throughout the day. That's nice just to have them readily available. That's perfect. I like Mina, the sending personal handwritten notes to staff, having an empty your bucket Zoom breakout session. That's a really great idea. I love that. These are really cool. I know I'm like scrolling and writing.
Yeah.
While you're looking, Andy, one other thing that we do good news calls of the day at the middle school, but what we tried this, like within 3 to 4 weeks of the school year starting in our parent newsletter, we asked parents to recommend a staff member for a positive phone call or a positive note. And then it was in a Microsoft form. And so we got it back, and then our secretary team made it into like a certificate and handed it out to teachers. We had over 80 thank yous, recommendations from parents. It was and things that I had no idea people were doing, or things that parents were so grateful for, down to thanks to whoever runs our Facebook page for keeping it up to date, or thanks to Mr. Sullivan for, taking time to have a separate conference with us. But
write that one down.
it was just part of our newsletter. And it was just like, hey, is there anything you want us to celebrate a staff member that helped your students start the year? So it was a boomerang then, because I think parents we did it as part of our feedback survey for how the year started, but it really set the tone for the survey then too, to really think about what's important, which is your children and our staff supporting your children.
And on that note, if you do like announcements, like student announcements, even virtual ones, like we do virtual announcements now. And so one of our counselors takes in the same kind of thing from parents and he recognizes different staff members. And I think it's important to do that in front of the students too. I mean, we want to recognize students, but when students see us support each other and recognize each other, this social modeling, everything we do and how we interact with each other is the model on how they should act too, right? Especially at that age level, middle school, they are watching everything you do. They're paying attention. So it's good stuff. Padlet. Yeah, Jason uses a Padlet. Padlet's a great source where you can sort of do crowdsourcing of that stuff.
Yeah, and actually, so I'll jump into the next thing because we actually can use Padlet with some of this too. So the social emotional wellness was really, as a staff, we've tried to be more intentional on our own well-being, especially in this COVID season. So our counselors over the summer created lessons, and we actually have a social emotional learning class, an academic coach class for first quarter that not only talks about social emotional learning, but the decreasing cognitive load with all the tech tools for students that are, in person and hybrid. But part of that then too is we wanted our teachers to feel confident as students in the work. So we wanted to make sure that they recognized, the tenets of empathy, compassion, caring, self-care. And so, as Andy said, with Balance Like a Pirate, we have 4 quadrants. So we asked staff to just walk through this exercise. So it can be just on a piece of paper, and just what's something in your personal life right now that's bringing you joy. Like maybe it's just walking your dog, as Earl likes to say, as Herman was barking earlier. Usually he brings me joy, except when I'm on a webinar. But like positional, like what's something in your job right now that's making you want to show up? What's something professionally that you're growing from? And what's something in what's a passion that you want to continue to do, whether it's running or writing or cooking, and just making sure that you have something in each of those quadrants. And that's a great Padlet activity because you can crowdsource that too as a staff. Say, okay, what's something personal you're doing, or how can I help you be accountable to that? And then kind of as we talked about, just that gratitude checklist. I like to keep just a template of, okay, not just in my professional network or my positional network, but you know, is there a family member I want to reach out to? You know, I think about some of our, like my grandmother who's really stayed quarantined this whole time. So I can't physically see her, but I can call her and I can connect with her that way. So sometimes it's important to think about, you know, sharing gratitude with those people, even in our own homes. Like my husband, who's probably restraining the dog that's been trying to get into this webinar for the last 40 minutes, you know, taking the time to give gratitude to those really in our network, or Andy, that fantastic person that is your better half, sharing out with her too. So that's just something to think about as well, because I think that's the final thing too in this section for the takeaways. We shared some takeaways in the chat too about how are you caring for your staff. But I think it's also important as principals, how are you taking care of yourself? And I know it's National Principal Month, but I think self-care really has to be year round. So if we have just a couple minutes in the chat, what are you doing for your own self-care in this season? So I'll lead off just because I feel like I have the mic right here. But I've been, and Herman's at the door. I've been someone who just works through everything. Like I'll have a protein shake and I just work through lunch. I work through everything. But when I'm at school, 3 days a week, my boys are here and they're high schoolers, which is fine, 8th grade in high school. But I take a lunch every day during COVID and I've never done that before. So I take a half hour, I come home, I make sure that they get lunch, or I take the dog out and I go back. And it's been a really nice pause, because I think sometimes as principals, you just go from meeting to meeting to meeting to, you know, crisis to crisis to crisis to deep thoughts. And sometimes we just don't take that break in the day. So that's been something I've really enjoyed. And I think I'll try really hard to continue it even after COVID. So what's something you two do to care for yourself?
For me, I'll be honest, it's been tough. Just being transparent, it's been tough to take care of myself with so many other things going on. And trying to, you know, get school started. You know, I feel like we're getting school started like every 2 or 3 weeks because we've got new changes. But taking care of the staff, I can definitely answer that. I think just giving them time off. You know, we had a no meet week where we didn't have any meetings. So we didn't have any vertical or horizontal meetings for that week. I was just like, hey, we're just not going to meet at all. Giving them time off. You know, tomorrow we have parent-teacher conferences. And instead of them doing them virtually from their classrooms, they're going to do them virtually, you know, from their sofas tomorrow. So, you know, just anytime that you can take things off of their plate, definitely take advantage of that. And then, you know, just never forget what it's like to be a classroom teacher, because you know the look and you know the feel. And when you start seeing that, I think that it's imperative to make sure that we're taking care of them. Because, you know, they take care of the kids and, you know, they keep us out of hot water and keep us out of harm's way just as much as we keep them out of harm's way. So yeah, just giving them time off and understanding their needs and supplying them.
Yeah, it's tough. It's the part of the thing is different. You know, people have different ways that they energize themselves. Sometimes you need a break. Sometimes you just need energy, right? Like I find that right now it's hard with this whole virtual thing. Your normal, fun, positive routines are different. And so all that positive energy that, you know, if you have a great school culture and that's flying and that's flowing, you miss a lot of that. I miss a lot of that. So I just try to connect with people and, you know, and sometimes I need to do less and sometimes like I need to do more, if that makes sense, but just the right kind of more things to give you that right, you know, if you want to call it filling your bucket, whatever that is. And that's what's tricky to find out. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Yeah, we got some workout. There's a bunch of people working out. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're, you got a lot of workout people in here. Mina's a workout beast. That's what it says in here. A lot of walks around the lake.
Yeah, Madam President, walking around the lake. Good job, Kim, bro.
It's good stuff. Good stuff, guys.
This hour is flying by.
Yep.
We're like 15 minutes left.
Yep.
Gosh.
So
I've got poll question 2.
Yes.
And poll question 2 is, who is your favorite dynamic duo? And you have a choice to choose between Batman and Robin, Sonny and Cher, Buzz Lightyear and Woody, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. Make your selections for us.
All right, Andy. You
man, you didn't put on LeBron James and AD? Anthony Davis, come on.
Do like LeBron James and ... And
yeah. I was gonna say, it's too new. Too that. I'm going Buzz and Woody, man. Come on.
That's what I was gonna think. I was gonna choose that one for you, buddy.
Yeah. Buzz and Woody. Classic. Classic.
Earl's got a good one. Andy and Hamish.
Hey!
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Put that one on there.
There you go. Yeah, Hamish. There we go. See?
Mhm.
Dynamic duo. We get in trouble a lot together. Although, so the three of us. So, you know, when you're with your friends and you get in trouble, that means they're the right kind of friends.
Oh,
Tells us the right kind of trouble.
Oh,
winner.
Ooh, all right, Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin.
All, then Buzz and Woody, and then Michael Jordan. No one Tanya Fey, Amy Poehler. So
Either. That's
no Sonny and Cher. I'm shocked.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So what's up with the dynamic duo? Why does that matter
All
from
right,
the school
Kevin.
level?
Here you go.
Dynamic duo. Got to go with Batman and Robin on that one. So next one, distributive leadership, working well together, and I'm going to lead this section off with a quote from John Wooden, one of the world's most outstanding coaches in the history of coaching. Whatever you do in life, surround yourself with smart people who will argue with you. So that's John Wooden's quote. And so for me, one of the things that I do to get distributive leadership is I believe in titles, and I believe that there's power in titles. And if you want to go to the next one, and so one of the things that I did here is we struggle with competing with magnet schools, with charter schools, and with private schools. And one of the things that the private schools do is, they typically name their schools, lower school, upper school, you kind of hear about that in the private schools, but you don't hear about that, in the public schools. And so with us being grades 5 through 8, and our building is actually structured where our 5th and 6th graders are on one half of the building, on one half of our campus, 7th and 8th on the other side, I was just like, hey, we're just going to call 5th and 6th grade lower school, call 7th and 8th grade upper school. And so we just changed the name. We started calling it that. So whenever we were talking to prospective parents, like, hey, let me take you down to lower school. They're like, what? Like, yeah, let me take you down to lower school. Let me take you down to upper school. And so we changed our title. So our assistant principals, at the time we had 2, we changed our title from, 5th and 6th grade assistant principal and 7th and 8th grade assistant principal to lower school principal. Notice we took the assistant tag off, and upper school principal. And immediately you kind of see their chest kind of stick out like, hey, I'm lower school principal, I'm upper school principal. Each one was still in charge of their respective 300 students on their ends of the building, but we allowed them to run it, and just changing the title just changed the perspective. Another example is we don't have a cafeteria at Hadley, we have a food court. And so we just started calling it the food court, and we put a sign out front, on the top of the wall, food court. And because my premise, and when kids ask me about this, I say, kids throw food in the cafeteria. They don't throw food in the food court. It just has a different name to it, a different ring to it, and you change it, and people's perceptions change. So I think titles are huge, and it can change the culture in your building, and change the culture with some of the people who work for you by giving them a new title. So yeah, so that's my piece on that.
Well, and Kevin and I know Kevin's, this is where Kevin, you can go back to that one though, Katie, too, but this is Kevin's wheelhouse. And I think we've talked about this a lot in getting ready with the Institute, is just when you become a principal of a middle school or a high school, you have assistant principals under you. And if you're an elementary principal, a lot of times you may only be an independent contractor. But when you start to have people that are assistant principals, kind of like you said, like they're principals. Like in our unit, like you're hired as a principal and then maybe placed as an AP. And so our roles then are to really cultivate principals, which is giving them experience in a lot of different areas so they can go out and lead well when they have their own building too. So I love this example, and I just love
that takes a lot of courage though, guys. Come on. I mean, I think you're making it sound easy, but as a school principal, you're calling another person a principal in your building. That's hard to do for principals, right? So that's pretty courageous. You're empowering that person. You're giving them sort of this next level kind of component of leadership. That's pretty amazing.
I mean, but I think, that's all about pulling people up.
What's that?
And for me, when I hire assistant principals, I take on the same mentality that the principals that I worked for when I was an assistant principal. And, for me, I wanted to be more than just the 3 Ds. books, butts, and buses.
Mhm.
I mean, like, we want to be more than that. And so to mentor your assistant principals, you have to expose them to lots of different areas. Like, one of the weaknesses for me when I became a principal was finances. Like, I never touched budgets as an assistant principal. And then I became a principal, and day one, I was supposed to be an expert in finances, and I had never touched it. And so, I have taken my assistant principals to my budget meetings for the next year, and we've talked about those things. And so I wanted them to, to see that and to be a part of that.
Well, and if Earl's still on here, he's going to love this. So I read a book, and then Herman also read the book, Earl. That's Herman, loving the book. But in this, he talks a lot about the Infinite Game, worthy rivals. And instead of thinking of us as principals and assistant principals, like my Ryan, the principal with me, he's my worthy rival. I see things in him that I want to be better at, and I hope he sees things in me that he wants to grow from. But having that type of relationship where you're meeting on a regular basis and you're delegating, like, you're doing this and I'm doing this, and then let's connect on it so we're aligning together. But when you look at it as somebody who's going to help you grow and get better, it really, you let go of some of the ego piece. Like, you have to know it all and do it all and be everything. When you can really say, no, this is my partner, and we really want to build this school better, it really helps the climate and takes a lot of pressure off your plate.
And people still know you're the principal. Like, that's the thing. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's pretty amazing. Sometimes principals are worried about doing that, because by doing that, it's like you're giving something away, and then you all of a sudden lose the authority or something. But they always know you're the principal still, so you can still do that. So someone asked about the book. What's the book that you just showed? What's the book title?
Oh, yeah. The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. So but in there, and Mina wants to see, again, Herman really liked this book right there. But it's more of a business book, but it talks about, I just loved the leadership component in it. And he talks about an author that's his worthy rival, and how before it was a competition. And when he saw it as somebody who's actually elevating his work, his whole mindset changed around it. And I just think that we don't have time to compete with each other. Mm-hmm. And honestly, we want to make sure that we're cultivating more of us, because some of us don't want to be doing this job when they're 80. Mm-hmm. So we want to have better school leaders when we leave. And so that really means letting go of your ego to do that.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, we got about like 6 minutes.
Oh, mine's quick. Mine's quick for once. Yeah. So, Andy laughs. So one of the things, the mantra for starting this year for us was clarity is the antidote to anxiety. Clarity is the antidote to anxiety. And we had a lot of anxiety. How many chairs can I have in this room? How many feet apart? Who's measuring stuff? What's the curriculum going to look like? I mean, it was crazy. And so Ryan and I had to sit down the beginning of August, and we had to just map it out. Ryan, you do this, I do this, and we don't get in each other's lane right now. So we still meet every day, kind of like we talked about in the last slide, but we also publish this to the staff. Because when you're in a building of 80 people, and half are under 3 years, like, it's new, they don't want to screw up. They don't want to ask the wrong question. So we were really clear, like, anything around grading, you come to me. PBIS, you go to Ryan. You need to know how many chairs you have in your room. Don't go to me, because I'm not great at math. Go to Ryan. If you want to know how to implement the new online software, come to me. So we got really good at a few things. If I look at the chart and I had to be good at all of that, I'd be in a stress center right now. Like, I would be kind of knowing a little bit about everything, but now I can go really deep on a few things. And then we just really partner together. And then even with, like, he takes care of the counselors and the SAT process, and I work with the coaches. And so we really wanted to be clear and share that with staff on a regular basis, and then really revisit it to make sure that our flow charts are still following our process and holding ourselves accountable. Because you don't want me messing in some stuff, because I can really break things in Infinite Campus if you give me the buttons. So, like, you stay over here, Jess, in your lane, I'll do mine, and then we'll work together. So I would just really encourage you to really think about, like, even brain dump everything that you have to do as a leader with your leadership team, gain feedback from the other stakeholders, like department chairs and team leads, like, put it all in, and then start to pull it out and say, who's the primary point person? Who's the secondary point person? And maybe some of that stuff doesn't fall on your plate. Maybe that goes to department chairs or team leads. So it's that distributed leadership process. So that was really, I think that's just, it's really helped us. And again, clarity is the antidote to anxiety. So we just constantly publish things. We really circle back reflective loops. but I think that's something we really want to continue.
So, and you could do that even if, like, let's say you're in a small school, you don't have an assistant principal or something like that, right? Like you can still do that with school, like teacher leaders or office staff. I know for us, like, you know, if you need a laptop for home, you go to Mary in the office. If you need an issue with the, you know, the parent view thing, you go to Leah. Like there's different people. And as a leader, if you can be very clear in articulating that, you're right. Not only does it reduce anxiety in them, it reduces it in you too. Because you know you can sort of let go of those things a little bit, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, we just gave a couple examples, but if you guys on the takeaway slide, if there's anything that you can add on how you're collaborating with your colleagues, I mean, really even Sue's example of giving books to her colleagues was a great one, like just building relationships. Another thing, if you don't have an assistant principal, call your fellow principals right now. Like not right now, because they might be sleeping. I don't know. But like reach out to your other colleagues within the district, because we can really get isolated in this season. And sometimes it just, how you doing today? Or how has it been? I think really could go a long way, and just checking in on people.
That is true, because this is a lonely seat. We in our schools, we are the kid with the cooties. You know, no one ever asks us to go to lunch, or, you know, if we need anything or what have you. So it's a lonely job in the seat. And so you have to have a network outside of your building, because traditionally you're just not going to have one inside. So that is something that I do. I have a network of principals here locally, and also a network of principals, obviously, across the country to network with, because it can be lonely here in your building.
So, well, I know Andy is baiting us to get done here. So really what we wanted you to know for closing is just think about a piece of advice you'd tell a new leader. And what's one idea you heard tonight you'd like to hear more about? We'd love it if you engaged with us on Twitter, on the Twitters, and you just hashtag principling in place. You could tag either one of us, but we really are glad that we got to come tonight. And I think, Kevin, we have one more slide. And
yeah, before we go on, right now, if you're out there, use that hashtag. What's one piece of advice or one thing you took from tonight? Because, you know, we're trying to share the learning for as many people as we possibly can out there. So share it out, enjoy it, learn more together. So what's one thing? I'm going to look on there and give another prize. So share one thing you may have learned.
Yes.
Definitely. Share. And we just want to challenge you all. We have a Principling in Place challenge. And we want you all to get connected. Follow someone from tonight. So you can follow myself at Dr. KD Armstrong, or you can follow Jessica Cabine at Jessica Cabine. And so make sure that you follow us after this, and then tweet something out. Share one practice that you're proud of in your school. We want to hear from you, and we want to be able to connect with you as well. So if you could tweet that out for us, we'd appreciate it. Make sure that you hashtag Principling in Place for your prize.
We want to see you in Chicago.
Absolutely. That's right. That's that. You know, I tell you, those conferences are fun. That's where those real meaningful relationships get hit up.
And there's going to be some awesome middle school components this summer. So we really want to see more middle level leaders at it too.
That's right.
And it's the 100th anniversary of NASP. So you don't want to miss that.
It's big time. So
famous plug, Earl. I got you, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, so make sure you connect to these guys. They're amazing people, amazing leaders. Learn more about what they're doing and all the posts and information they'll be sharing out about not just middle school leaders. Like what you learned tonight is more than just middle school leaders. This is leadership stuff altogether, and that's how all of our schools work. You know, we learn so much from each other, and the different perspectives that we bring to the table makes us better, because we may have been thinking in our schools or the people we work with in the same way. So I think it's so important to learn from each other in that sense. So thank you guys so much for coming on. Big time. You did it. And next week, we have Center for Women in Leadership. We have Jessica and Andrea, amazing school leaders, and smart, and just, I can't wait for this session. I'm just going to sit back and listen and learn, because this is going to be great. So again, another center sharing real-time, important information for all of you. So it is that time, guys. We did it. Thursday night. Tomorrow's Friday. You have my permission to have a blast tomorrow. Make it the best day of the week. End strong. Friday. Right? Thanks, guys. Have a great day, everybody.